You know, it takes a real man to admit when they were wrong. That's what I wanted to do in today's video. The New York Knicks. You guys don't know, I made a video about the Knicks needing a reset not too long ago, and man, I was wrong. At the time of that video, the Knicks were a middle of the pack team. They were a team struggling to stay within play and contention, and I don't know what happened, but that team seemed to have just flipped the switch. The month of February has been a new New York Knicks team, and as of right now, they're sitting as the 6th seed in the Eastern Conference with a 33-27 record. This team is playing much better on offense, they're playing much better on defense, they're playing more as a unit, and Tom Thibodeau, a guy who's been on the hot seat for a season and a half, has them playing inspired basketball. Let's talk about the Knicks. Let's dive deeper into what's changed for them. Let's dive into their team as a whole, some questions moving forward, but ultimately, let's talk about how they've been able to turn this season around. So as I stated with the New York Knicks, to start the season, it was pretty rough. I mean, for majority of the 2022 season, they were just a mediocre team. Their offense was good, but their defense was bad. They weren't passing the ball much. They weren't shooting the three ball all that well. And I mean, middle of the pack statistics give you middle of the pack results. And then the new year rolled around and something's changed for this team. This shift in energy, the shift in play that this team has to really do with two key players, and that's Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson, their two biggest stars. Talking about Julius Randle first, a lot of people doubted him coming into the season. After a very successful season 2 years ago that saw him make his first All-Star team, make the All-NBA team, win Most Improved Player, and lead the New York Knicks to the playoffs, last season was a dumpster fire for him. In 72 games last year, he averaged just 20 points. He shot 41% from the field and 30% from three, just disgusting numbers. And a lot of people labeled him a bubble player. You see, that 2021 season, it was limited fan capacity, so it wasn't really like authentic NBA ball. And once more and more fans started to come into the arenas, his play started to diminish. And it got to the point where once he reached the playoffs, it was bad. He was super inefficient, he looked uninterested, but the New York Knicks decided to go with their gut. They decided to stick with their all-star player, and so far it's been paying dividends. This season, Julius Randle is averaging a career-high 24.8 points per game. He's grabbing a career-high 10.8 rebounds per game, and he's shooting 46% from the field and 34% from three. He's taking the most free throws he's ever taken in his NBA career, and all in all, he's playing very, very great basketball. As much hate that Julius Randle gets, he's been very effective this season, but what's changed in his game? Well, for me, I think the biggest thing has been his confidence. His confidence is much higher this year than it has been in years past. He knows his role. He knows that he's the #1 player, and the team knows that he's the #1 player. But it's not just about the improvements in field goal percentage. It's about his improvements as a creator all around. He's not just forcing bad shots. He's actually taking much more efficient shots. And you see it in his statistics. In years past, Julius Randle was just not that good of a mid-range shooter. But this year, he's shooting 44% from that area. We already knew that Julius Randle has some serious shot creation abilities, but he's taking that to a new level this year. And he's using more of that 6'8", 250-pound frame rather than settling for a lot of tough jumpers. He just looks much more interested, much more effective on both sides of the court, and you can see the impact that it's having on the team today. I think the season he's having right now settles all questions about Julius Randle as a player. Julius Randle was the 7th overall pick for a reason, man, and I'm glad that he's finally able to put it together. But of course, the success of this team has not just been Julius Randle. Much of their success has come from the addition of Jalen Brunson. The addition of Jalen Brunson has not only helped Julius Randle, but it's had a long-lasting impact on this team. Here's another reason as to why Julius Randle has played as well as he's played, because it adds more shot creation, it adds more spacing, and another threat that the defense has to worry about. A lot of people question the signing of Jalen Brunson, and boy oh boy has he shut the critics up. Before the new year, he was a 20-point per game scorer, and that's all the Knicks really needed. But since the calendar year has flipped, he has been playing at a superstar level. Over the Knicks' last 22 games, Jalen Brunson is averaging 29.7 points per game, dishing out 5.6 assists, and is shooting 51% from the field and 46% from three. It's crazy that he's able to do the things that he's doing in a secondary role alongside Julius Randle. The two seem to fit so well and so seamlessly, and they have shown no signs of slowing down anytime soon. I mean, just looking at Jalen Brunson's game logs will have you in awe. On February 4th, he dropped a 41 piece against the Los Angeles Clippers. Right before the All-Star break, he had a 40-point game against the Brooklyn Nets. There was a 44-point game against the Milwaukee Bucks, and a 37-point game against the Los Angeles Lakers. You love to see that scoring impact that he provides, but what I'm really most excited about is that he's doing it in these big games, which is going to be key for the playoffs. And something is telling me that his play won't be slowing down anytime soon. I expect him to play this well going into the playoffs, and any first round matchup is going to have a tough time guarding him. But what's been working for the Knicks over the last month or so? Now, I don't think it's any secret, but this team has been playing much better since the injury of Mitchell Robinson. Inserting Jericho Sims in the lineup adds more athleticism, and there are more opportunities for Julius Randle to play the center position, creating mismatches, improving the playmaking, and shot creation of the team. There's also guys like Quentin Grimes and Emmanuel Quickley on this team. For Emmanuel Quickley, he's been playing much better defense, the playmaking has improved, and he's limited his turnovers. Since the calendar flip, he's been much more efficient, and he's been a perfect sixth man for this Knicks team. For Quentin Grimes, he's somebody who just doesn't get in the way. A prototypical 3-and-D player, he is not afraid of the big moments. Efficient basketball is what I can describe him to be. And rounding out their core is the addition of Josh Hart, who's going to add more tenacity, defense, improve the rebounding, and hopefully provide a scoring punch for this Knicks team. But everything isn't perfect for this New York Knicks team. The biggest question mark on this team is obviously RJ Barrett, who has been a real hard player to evaluate so far in his NBA career. A lot of the issues that RJ Barrett dealt with at Duke is a lot of the issues that he's dealing with in NBA. RJ Barrett can score, but he takes a lot of shots to do so. On the year, he's averaging 20 points, but he's shooting 42.8% from the field and 32% from three. He cannot dribble, he cannot finish with his left, and he cannot shoot the ball. He plays very uninterested at times, and ultimately it's led to Tom Thibodeau pulling him out of games late. The playmaking is just not there. On the year, he's averaging just 2.8 assists and turning the ball over 2.2 times per game. Now, some of the blame could be because he's playing behind Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson, but that's not really an excuse. There's been a lot of trade talk surrounding his name, and rightfully so. I don't really think I expect RJ Barrett to make a jump in his game anytime soon because he just hasn't really shown me much through the first 4 years. I think a trade is inevitable. It just depends on when the Knicks feel comfortable in doing so. And then there's the talk about Mitchell Robinson, whose contract extension really confused me. Mitchell Robinson is just a big body. He cannot play a lot of minutes because he fouls a lot. He's always hurt, and he doesn't provide any offensive spacing for this team. He projects better as an energy big off the bench, but those type of bigs don't make $20 million a year. And the Knicks have been just fine with the center rotation of Isaiah Hartenstein and Jericho Sims. They should have honestly just let him walk this past offseason and use that money somewhere else. But his extension is not really one that I envision being a problem for this team. And that's what really excites me about this Knicks team going into the playoffs and into this upcoming offseason. You have guys like RJ Barrett, Obi Toppin, Mitchell Robinson, Evan Fournier. Those guys have some value that you can use in trade packages to improve the team moving forward. You have your core of Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle. You have your outside pieces like Emmanuel Quickley and Quentin Grimes and Josh Hart. It's all about finding the right pieces to surround those guys with to improve not only this offense but this defensive impact. Now, I don't know what to expect for this team moving into the playoffs. It wouldn't surprise me if they beat their first round matchup, but it wouldn't surprise me if they lost either. But all I can say is this team is playing much better as of late, and they're getting hot at the right time. A lot of their early season problems still seem to creep in here and there, but they've done a great job at negating those since the new year. It'll be interesting to see how they finish off the season, and I cannot wait for their first round matchup in the playoffs.